And our next Formula One telecast is on April the 28th as we shift into high gear in our racing coverage. That will be the San Marino Grand Prix. Here, folks, is a feature, speaking of Formula One, that I have really been looking forward to. The Australian Grand Prix last November marked the 500th career race of the Formula One Grand Prix racing circuit. The circuit began in 1950 and has continued very successfully for 5 decades. To commemorate this historic event, we proudly present a history of Formula One racing from its inception to the event in Adelaide. This special feature is a BBC presentation and is narrated by Nigel Roebuck.
It was a day of nostalgia. If you loved Grand Prix racing, its history and legends, then Silverstone in July 1990 was the place to be, just as in May 1950, where the first World Championship began. Now, some of the great cars from the past were out on the old circuit one last time. But if the track will never be quite the same again, the memories will comfortably stay.
It's a royal occasion when Silverstone is chosen for the 1950 European Grand Prix. Moreover, this year, for the first time ever, there is to be an official world champion driver. It's to be decided on the points gained in 6 major races, and this is the first. Just a few miles from the end comes an unexpected stroke of bad luck. An oil pipe fractures on Fangio's car, and a conrod breaks. Farina starts the competition for World Championship with a healthy lead on points, while Fangio, politely applauding in the background, gets nothing.
This was not to be Fangio's championship, not yet. That first year it went to the man who had won at Silverstone, Dr. Giuseppe Farina. By the 1951 British Grand Prix, the Ferraris looked at last to be a genuine threat to Alfa Romeo. On lap 10, Fangio in the number 2 Alfa had taken the lead from Gonzalez's Ferrari number 12. But Fangio couldn't shake off his stocky fellow Argentine, and by lap 38, the Ferrari was back in front where it stayed. Alfa Romeo domination had at last been stemmed. For all that, though, it was an Alfa driver, Juan Manuel Fangio, who took the title that year. For 1952, the World Championship was run for Formula 2 cars, and Ferrari's Alberto Ascari won every single Grand Prix.
At Monza, with Ferrari and Maserati evenly matched, the Italian Grand Prix produced some magnificent motor racing. Ascari and Farina on Ferrari, Fangio and Marimont on Maserati were never more than 3 seconds apart for over half the race. Then Marimont made a pit stop, and the 3 world champions, Ascari, Farina and Fangio, raced 1, 2, 3, until the last sensational lap, when Ascari spun, Farina swerved to avoid him, and Fangio somehow found a gap to win his first major Grand Prix of the year, just 1.4 seconds ahead of Farina.
Despite that spin and Fangio's victory, Ascari easily held on to his World Championship crown. In 1954, true Grand Prix cars were back, with a new Formula One. Back too were Mercedes-Benz, but in Italy at least, the Ferraris were expected to run them close. Ascari's Ferrari led most of the Italian Grand Prix, but when he retired with a blown engine, first place passed to Sterling Moss's red Maserati, number 28. A dozen laps from the end, though, Moss was sidelined with a cracked oil pipe, leaving Fangio a fortunate victory to clinch his second title. Mercedes, understandably, saw no good reason to change very much for 1955, but they did add a new driver. By the 1955 British Grand Prix at Aintree, Ascari had been kill testing, and the Mercedes of Fangio and Moss were untouchable.
I can't remember the exact setup, but I remember coming up to a back marker, and I thought, well, he's going to get here, and then I got past him.
And so a British driver leads in the British Grand Prix, albeit in a German car.
And I went like hell. I used everything I could, and I got a good lead, fairly good lead. But then coming towards the end, Fangio was up with me again. And I remember going round the last corner. Round the last corner, the start line was 200, 300 yards away. And I was in, say, second, I don't remember exactly, but probably second. And I put my foot flat on the floor, pulled right over, and waved Fangio past. And I thought, well, God, if he's got another 50 horsepower, he's going to do it. Otherwise, you know, no way. And I thought it was a nice gesture.
Past the pits in as near line abreast as makes no difference. They get the checkered flag and go on to their lap of honor.
I've asked him since, and I've said, look, you know, you did back off, didn't you? Because after all, it was the British Grand Prix. He said, no. He said, you know, you were on form that day, and that, you know, it was your race. Half my problem with Fangio was that I felt he was better, he was faster, backed up by the fact that he probably was.
At the next race, Monza, the status quo was restored, Moss finishing second to Fangio, world champion again. But it was the end for Mercedes, who withdrew at the end of 1955, leaving Fangio to go to Ferrari, where he duly won his 4th title. But at the 1957 British Grand Prix, Fangio, now with Maserati, was never in contention. Moss's Van Wall led until its engine expired, after which his team called in the injured Tony Brooks, and Sterling took over.
Moss was back in the race, but the delay had put him in 9th place. Bera in the Maserati now led the field as Moss set off in pursuit. One by one, he overhauled his rivals and, shattering the lap record 4 times, finally went to the front once more. Setting up a commanding lead, Moss came in to take on 10 gallons of fuel and a bottle of pop in 27 seconds. Some going. Then back for those final laps and a place in motor racing history. So, with the Ferraris and the Maseratis trailing behind, Sterling Moss and the Van Wall came home alone. Victory at an average speed of 86.8 miles an hour.
Into the north turn, and the fantastic Fangio takes Collins on the inside. And with a lap and a half to go, he leads the race. A race in which he broke the lap record 10 times in 22 laps, reducing it from 9 minutes 37.4 seconds to 9 minutes 17.4. To prove beyond all doubt his claim to immortality as one of the greatest drivers the world has ever known.
A fantastic victory, even by Fangio standards, and his last before retirement as world champion for the 5th time. When they came to Casablanca for the final race of 1958, the championship was between Moss's Van Wall and Hawthorne's Ferrari. The odds were strongly with Hawthorne. Moss had to win and set fastest lap, for which there was then an extra point. But even so, Hawthorne had only to finish second to take the title. Moss and number 8 led from the start, while teammate Brooks tried to hold off Hawthorne for as long as possible. Stuart Lewis-Evans in Van Wall number 12 was also trying to help Moss when his engine failed. The car ran off the road and caught fire, Lewis-Evans tragically suffering burns from which he would die. Late in the race, Ferrari's Phil Hill gave up second place to Hawthorne. So, with only 1 victory compared with Moss's 4, Hawthorne it was who took the title. By a piece of tragic irony, however, the new world champion lost his life 3 months later in a road accident on the Guildford bypass. After the death of Lewis-Evans, Van Wall withdrew from racing, and in 1959 new names came to the fore. But at Sebring, the last race of the year, Moss in a Rob Walker Cooper was again going for the title.
3 laps gone, and Moss is 5 seconds up, with the 2 Coopers of Brabham and McLaren trying to close. But now the order's changed. Brabham leads with McLaren second.
What's happened to Moss? That lucky 7 Cooper is out of the race already. The transmission's gone, and with it, Sterling Moss's hopes of the World Championship.
Now Brabham has got the race in his hands. Supported by teammate McLaren, nobody can touch him now. And team manager John Cooper welcomes his winner home. But there's something wrong. It's McLaren, number 9, who takes the checkered flag. There's consternation in the Cooper pit. Brabham should have come through first. But Jack Brabham, out of petrol, is still in the race. Jack Brabham pushes his way to the Motor Racing Championship of the world.
In 1959 and 60, Jack Brabham and Cooper took the titles, also swinging a lamp over the future.
For 5 straight years, the full-size pickup from GMC Truck has retained more of its original value than any other in Canada. That's why the popularity of the Sierra is growing faster than any other full-size pickup. And we intend to keep it that way in '91 with the new Sierras. The 1991 Sierra full-size pickup from GMC Truck.
One Tough Motor Oil announces one tough guarantee. The Quaker State 400,000 kilometers or 10-year guarantee. Register your new car at a participating service center. Then use only Quaker State. Have oil and filter changed as directed at a service center. And if any lubricated engine part suffers an oil-related breakdown within 400,000 kilometers or 10 years, you're covered. Quaker State guarantees it in writing. The big Q is one Tough Motor Oil.
Fact is, we're number one. If you're buying or selling, call us first.
In late April, the Formula Ones roll again at Imola, the San Marino Grand Prix. 1 year ago, veteran Riccardo Patrese scored a surprise victory. Nigel Mansell is back with Williams, giving them a strong 1-2 punch. World champion Ayrton Senna, who opened '91 with back-to-back victories, figures to set the pace once again. April 28th, the Formula Ones return for the San Marino Grand Prix.
Monte Carlo, a small principality in the Stirling area. And as usual, all eyes are focused upon him. Even an extra 30 brake horsepower is no substitute for the skill of Moss. As round and round the classic Monaco circuit, he drives the race of his life.
Ferraris of Richie Ginther and Phil Hill had a big power advantage over Moss's Lotus in that first race for the new 1.5-litre Formula One. But they were not Stirling.
I thought, well, I'm going to really try and go. And that was the only thing I could try to do. And then, of course, they hung on, you know, did get a bit big. It went up to 6 seconds, then back to 4 and 3 and so on. But at the start, that was my intention. Then I realized I couldn't do it. So then I thought, well, okay, I'm just going to keep on as hard as I can. And that was when, going through this, I was convinced they were playing with me, because first it was one car and then another car. And then it would be 6 seconds, they'd come down to 4 and then go up a bit. I thought, well, you know, they're just passing back markers, slowing them up and so on. And I didn't realize, because I couldn't actually see, we didn't have radios, of course, I couldn't see them giving all these rather exotic signals to you know, Phil and Richie. So saying, now give all and all that sort of, I didn't see those because they didn't put them out till I'd gone past. No. And so I didn't know they were really trying. If I'd known they were trying, I reckon I might have been a bit quicker, you know, but it didn't happen. And I couldn't believe it. And when I came across and actually saw the flag, and they weren't right past me, it was absolutely quite a most amazing time. I mean, literally was. The one thing it proves to me, though, is that you can work out anything about a vehicle, the strength, you can work out the lateral G and the tire wear and all that, but you can't work out the human element. And that is what I think still keeps our sport as such an important one.
Still, it was essentially a Ferrari year. In France, Italy's Giancarlo Baghetti became the only driver ever to win his first Grand Prix. At Monza, though, there was stark tragedy when the Ferrari of world champion-elect Wolfgang von Trips crashed with Jim Clark's Lotus on the second lap of the Italian Grand Prix.
Von Trips is killed. So, too, are 11 spectators on that hot afternoon in Italy. Phil Hill leads the diminished field. Ahead of him lies the prize of prizes, the championship of the world. As he takes the winner's laurels, Phil Hill does not know the fate of his teammate. He wins the Italian Grand Prix, and with it, the World Championship.
Hill would never win another Grand Prix, though. And it was another Hill, Graham, who took the title for BRM in 1962, narrowly beating Jimmy Clark. But the following year, it was the other way round, with the dominant Clark scoring 7 victories en route to the first of his 2 championships. In 1964, another Briton joined Clark and Hill in the fight for the title. John Surtees in the Ferrari. But in the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, the cards fell for Clark. In the early laps, Gurney and Surtees went clear of Clark's number 23 Lotus, but the Ferrari was soon out, leaving Gurney's Brabham alone at the front. Clark, too, needed a pit stop later in the race and was only fourth at the start of the last lap. By then, though, Dan Gurney in number 15 was running low on fuel. Hill and Bruce McLaren were in similar trouble, and Clark passed both. On the last lap, Gurney ran dry, allowing Clark to pass. But on the slowing down lap, Jimmy himself ran out of fuel. It was one of the few fortunate victories of his career.
Clark leads. Dan Gurney is there too, but Graham Hill is well placed.
And I saw all the smoking tyres and things and locked up brakes as first one and first the other would dice into the hairpin over the back. And I thought, well, here's an accident about to happen, that's for sure. And sure enough, it did happen.
Hill's BRM was damaged and out of the picture. In the closing stages, Bandini let Surtees pass him, but even so, it looked like Clark's championship until the last lap.
The Lotus is out. A surprise Dan Gurney wins the race for Brabham, and John Surtees get the World Championship. Cool, what a finale.
Surtees' title then, but the following year, Clark was virtually unopposed and strolled to his second title in 3 years. Jack Brabham was champion in 1966, thus becoming the first man to win the title in a car of his own construction, and a Brabham won the following year too.
In '67, when I won the championship, if Jack had stuck to, or kept some of the gear that I had, he probably would have won the championship. But he would try something new all the time, like maybe new camshafts, valves, or valve springs, or something like that, and occasionally they would break and let him down, and I had the good old reliable stuff. Probably not the same horsepower, but reliable, and you got to be there at the finish.
Sadly, motor racing was soon to lose the incomparable Clark. In April of 1968, he was killed in a minor Formula 2 race at Hockenheim in Germany.
The loss of Jim Clark in April of '68, I think, was like to motor racing what the atomic bomb may have been to the world during the Second World War. It was something that nobody could truly believe would have occurred. The dimensions of it were so drastic and so devastating to us all. I think for the first time we truly realised that motor racing was or could be hopelessly dangerous.
Ironically, it was in Germany again, this time at the Nürburgring, that Stewart, in appalling weather, drove the race of his life.
I said, why do I have to go out, Ken? I'm going to shunt the car. You know, we don't know where the track is, we don't know how deep the water is. That's why you have to go out, he says. You've got to find out where the rivers are, and he was right.
And Jackie didn't want to go out, and I insisted that he went out. It's the first time I've ever had to, if you like, make a driver drive, and I didn't like that very much.
I passed Chris Amon at the bottom of the descent to Adenauer Bridge, and then pulled out a huge lead by the end of the first lap. Unknown to me, I couldn't see anything. The spray was so bad and the fog was so bad. You were searching your way through the fog. And I think I passed the start-finishing line in the first lap, something like a 30-second lead. It was a long lead. I recall afterwards being told this. So it was a very difficult race for me. Aquaplaning everywhere, searching for visibility, but yet having to keep the pressure on because you knew that at any moment you could have spun out, gone wide, or done worse. I ended up by winning the race by 4 minutes, which in those days was, even today, it must be a very large amount of time.
For all Stewart's ability, it seemed somehow appropriate in 1968 that Graham Hill, fighting nobly for Lotus in the aftermath of Clark's death, should win the championship.
But at Monza that year, I categorically spent the entire weekend playing towards the last lap.
The teams were being paid according to their position at quarter distance, half distance, three-quarter distance, and full distance. And as it was going to be a slipstreaming race, I had this arrangement with Jackie whereby when he came up to quarter distance, we'd give him a countdown, lap 3, lap 2, lap 1, so that when he went by at quarter distance, he would be in first place and receive first place prize money for quarter distance. He achieved this at quarter distance. He achieved again at half distance and at three-quarter distance, and most important of all, he won the race. It was like a cash register going on in his head.
We're looking down at the approach to the Parabolica, down to the Vialoni, 185 miles an hour, 4 cars virtually together, and down to the Parabolica they come. Can Stewart hold the line on this, the last lap? Somebody's challenging, it's Rindt going through. Jock and Rindt takes the lead at the Parabolica on the last corner of the last lap. Beltoise going through. It's Beltoise taking the lead, and it's going to be a French Matra to win. It must be. It's over the line together, and it's almost a dead heat. It's Jackie Stewart, Rindt, Beltoise, and McLaren. Nobody has ever seen the finish of a motor race like that.
The Cosworth engine took every race that year, with Stewart's Matra winning more often than not.
Incredible! Villeneuve stood on everything, locked up his tyres, got the line, and he's back into second position on the last lap.
Happy motoring, Canada. At Esso, we know that a successful station is built on service.
And it's still true today. Our people are specially trained. And we use independent customer surveys to help set our high standards of service excellence. So if you think great service is a thing of the past, you should come into Esso and let us help you on your way. You're on your way with Esso.
So, what are we having this morning?
I don't know about you, but I'm having some fiber.
You want some fiber?
Make that oat bran and whole wheat.
You want oat bran and whole wheat together?
And don't forget the milk.
Let me get this straight. You want fiber, oat bran and whole wheat with milk.
Don't you have any common sense?
Don't you?
No, mine ran out. That's why I'm here.
Common sense oat bran and whole wheat cereal from Kellogg's. Health authorities say that fiber from a variety of sources is an important part of a healthy diet.
Still ahead today, Canada's brightest divers come to Etobicoke, warming up for a chance to capture a medal and make an impact on the international stage. And from sunny Florida, a preview of the Jays and Expos as both clubs try to bring home a world championship. Sports with a Canadian flavor. Coming up.
Monaco 1970 has passed into racing legend. This is what happened to Brabham at the last corner of the last lap.
Pierre's carriage had run out of petrol just before the last corner, and it was just one of those decisions. I took the wrong decision, went down on the inside of him instead of the outside of him, and of course all the sand was on the inside, and I just couldn't stop for the corner. And Rindt got by me for the lead.
Rindt went on to become world champion, but was killed in practice for the Italian Grand Prix. He's the only man to have won the title posthumously.
But Jochen was really a tiger of a driver and would have gone on, I think, to win more than one world championship, although I think he would have retired before too long. He wasn't in love with motorsport. He loved it, but he wasn't in love.
It's all too easy to end up at Monza when you're choosing good races because you're looking for things which have been competitive and exciting, and Monza was always that before the chicanes. Not always now, unfortunately. But for 1971, I've chosen the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. It was the 3-litre formula. And we had Tyrrells and Brabhams and BRMs and Ferraris, McLarens, Lotus, March. There were 8 people who led that Italian Grand Prix at some time during the race. Then, as so very often happens, people fell by the wayside. Amon went out, Siffert went out. But in the end, just like previous races at Monza, but even more so, it was a slipstreamer to the end. Peter Gethin in the BRM won his only Grand Prix, one of the most memorable of all time in the BRM. He won it by a metre from Ronnie Peterson and François Saveur and Mike Harewood, and 0.3 of a second covered the first 4 home. And Peter Gethin won at an average speed of, if I remember correctly, just under 151 miles an hour, and that's still the fastest Grand Prix of all time. It was an incredible race.
But it was Stewart, now driving a Tyrrell, who took his second title. Although he lost it the following season to Brazil's first world champion, Emerson Fittipaldi of Lotus.
In those times, what his drive, if you get the results, it was not very quick, but he was very careful with the car, and he finished all the races. And those times, durability in the car was very bad, and you have to be very, very soft with the car. And he was a man, he always depart 5th and 6th and all finish in the end, or 2nd or 1st. He didn't have much quick laps, he didn't have much pole position, but he always finished well in the points and win the championship and making points.
Jackie Stewart was making a point the following year.
Jody Scheckter ahead of Danny Hulme, and then Francois Saveur. Jody Schechter's lost it. Jody Scheckter has been hit.
Although Peter Revson was eventually to win the restarted race, Stewart and Lotus's Ronnie Peterson were the main attraction.
And here's the duel between the JPS and the Tyrrell, and Jackie Stewart was really closing on Ronnie Peterson at Beckett's there and got into a bit too much of a slide for comfort, but he's closing a little now. As we look down from the airship, we see that the Tyrrell, in fact, has it on the fastest section of the course. He's closing right up. Jackie Stewart overtaking on the inside and very nearly losing it. Right through the markers on the inside and Stewart. He's still sliding and he's still in trouble. He was in 120-mile-an-hour skid there, and now he's really in the agricultural business.
Tragically, Stewart's teammate, Francois Saveur, was killed in practice for the last race of the year at Watkins Glen, so Stewart withdrew from what would have been his 100th and final Grand Prix. He did, however, retire with the World Championship, his 3rd in 5 years. The following season, Emerson Fittipaldi, now with McLaren, won his 2nd, fighting Ferrari all the way. But in 1975, Niki Lauda and team manager Luca Montezemolo made it a year for Maranello.
Niki formed a very, very powerful team with Luca, who after all was an administrator, not a racing man. And between them, they turned Ferrari round completely. Niki told him what to do, and Luca went out and got it done.
To such good effect that Lauda waltzed to the championship, beating Fittipaldi by nearly 20 points. One of the sport's greatest characters, Graham Hill, died that year, only months after retiring. The plane crash also took the lives of Tony Bryce, his new driver, and several other team members. Through a controversial and dramatic 1976 season, the leading players were James Hunt and Niki Lauda. The Austrian began the year wonderfully, and by the time of the Spanish Grand Prix easily led the championship. But Hunt won well in Spain, only to be disqualified at post-race scrutineering. Although his victory was reinstated on appeal, it set the tone for the season.
The only problem is we were using slightly different tyres, which had a little bit bigger bulge, and that's the widest point on the car. Yeah. And it was, in fact, I think 3/8 of an inch too wide or something minuscule.
Just under 2 centimetres, that's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
And that was purely the bulge in the tyres.
At the British Grand Prix, there was yet greater controversy when the Ferraris of Lauda and Regazzoni touched at the first corner, triggering a multiple accident. Hunt won the restarted race from Lauda, but afterwards Ferrari protested, claiming repair work done on Hunt's car before the second start had been illegal.
There was nothing in the rule book, there were no grounds in the rules that could possibly suggest that I was going to be disqualified or it was ever going to be a problem. As a result, I think McLaren's, led by Teddy Mayer, didn't prepare any defence properly for when it went to Paris in September.
I think he drove a very good race there. But, you know, the judges in Paris said that he was illegal in the race, therefore he disqualified him. I think he changed a bit, and I think it's not right what he did, because I think he should respect the sport as it is, even if things are going wrong for him.
Things had gone appallingly wrong for Lauda at the Nürburgring, where he came close to losing his life.
When I came to the hospital, you know, you feel like kind of you feel like you're very tired, and you would like to go and sleep. But you know it's not just going sleeping, it's something else. And then you just fight with the brain. You hear noises and you hear voices, and you just try to listen what they're saying, and you try to keep your brain working and to get the body ready to fight against the illness. And I think this was very good that I did that, because in that way I survived.
Incredibly, Lauda was back for Monza just 6 weeks later, but Hunt had cut his points lead, and this victory in America gave him a shot at the title in Japan, the last race of the year. As they gathered in the rain at Fuji, Lauda had 3 more points than Hunt. The race was delayed in the hope conditions would improve, but when they didn't, the cars were flagged away, and Hunt took an immediate lead. After 2 laps, Lauda pulled in and retired. His life, he said, was more important than the World Championship, and perhaps he was the bravest man in the place. Hunt continued in the lead, despite spirited attacks from Brambilla and others. And while Lauda looked on, the title seemed assured. But then James had to pit for new tyres. Now he needed 3rd-place points to win the title.
The pit signals that I got were not consistent, right? By the end of the race, they'd got, from their lap chart, what turned out to be correct. But 3 laps before the end of the race, they were giving me a complete jumble of signals, and then suddenly it said 4th, which I probably was at the time because I passed somebody else to finish 3rd, right? But with their track record for handling things in a crisis and a panic, I wasn't prepared to believe McLaren's and their lap chart, and because I'd had too many disappointments already that year with things happening after the race.
No disappointments this time, though. Hunt was indeed 3rd and therefore world champion. A single point separated him from the gallant Lauda. Nicky was back the following year, though, champion again for Ferrari. It was all Lotus in 1978, Mario Andretti becoming champion, although grieving for his teammate Ronnie Peterson, who died at Monza. The first turbo win came at Dijon in 1979, but everyone remembers the fight for 2nd place.
And Arnou's going to do it. René Arnoux is challenging for 2nd as they come up to Villeroy, but Villeneuve will not give way. Arnou's got the inside line and the shorter line, and he takes 2nd place as they go into the right-hander and the left at Sablière. And now Renault's indeed are 1st and 2nd in the French Grand Prix, and the French crowd is going mad, roaring in the background. The twin-turbo Renaults appeared at Monaco, not their circuit. And now we're into the start of the 79th and last lap but 1 with René Arnoux 2nd, and Villeneuve go. Incredible! Villeneuve stood on everything, locked up his tyres, got the line, and he's back into 2nd position on the last lap but 1, and the French crowd aren't very happy about that, and who can blame them? And he's closed right up on Villeneuve, and he's going to try again. They're coming into the start of the last lap behind Jochen Maas in the A2 Arrows. And Arnoux does it, does he? And Villeneuve locks up. And Villeneuve has had to go wide, and Arnoux's on the inside as they go round Villeroy. He's got the shorter line, he's got 2nd position. He's got 2nd position, he's through, they bang wheels. He's off, and he's back again. René Arnoux off the circuit and back again, and now Villeneuve's in 2nd position, and this is the last lap. And Villeneuve goes over the corrugations, and he nearly loses the front as they go up to Parabolique on the 80th and last lap. And he's back, he's in 2nd position. Villeneuve is 2nd in the Ferrari. Down to 3rd position goes Arnoux. To La Bretelle, 80th. 80th lap in this 80-lap race, and there's less than a third of it to go. Now, can Arnoux, on the tremendously fast La Combe, Courbe de Pouar section, 150 miles an hour, get past? They go past Jochen Maas, and Jabouille wins. Jean-Pierre Jabouille has won in the Renault, who is going to be 2nd. Into the Courbe de Pouar they come. There is Riccardo Patrese, and Villeneuve is 2nd. Arnoux is 3rd.
In Holland, Villeneuve's leading Ferrari had a tyre going down.
Yes, and Villeneuve's lost it. Incredible! Villeneuve, 360-degree spin. Jones manages to avoid him and goes through and takes the lead. Fantastic! Alan Jones.
Villeneuve's unquenchable spirit made him a legend the world over.
We had a good relationship. I think he wanted to win every lap and not win races. He wanted to be impressive in that way, and that's what he did. He was a very fast driver, but wasn't at the stage where he was a good winner.
Which was fortunate for Scheckter, who took the title that year in a Ferrari clean sweep.
There's banking, and then there's Scotia Banking. We shop in the same stores you do. We know what a dollar buys and how hard it can be to make ends meet. We've got families to raise and taxes to pay, and we worry about nursing the car through another winter just like you. So when we talk to you about Scotiabank services, we're not trying to sell you something you don't need. We're trying to help. Scotiabanking means believing in people and proving it every day.
It's been 7 years.
Can you believe
Yeah,
it?
7
years.
Wow, where are you staying now that you're here?
I've got a one-room apartment. It's nice.
Sounds like you. So good seeing you.
You too.
And we should go out next week. We should, you know?
Yeah, oh, I'm going south. Yeah, I got a little shack by the sea. Can I have the check, please? Thank you. Can I give you a lift?
Oh, that'd be great.
Nice hat.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I do.
You never liked hats before.
It's nice.
Well, you know, people change. You still driving a Volkswagen?
Yep.
What? This is a Volkswagen?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a Passat.
It's a what?
It's a Volkswagen Passat.
Say, listen, you wouldn't have any pictures of that shack by the sea now, would you?
Follow Sports Weekend's race to the checkered flag, the Gold Coast Indy from Australia. Next Saturday.
The Italian cars were nowhere in 1980, however. At the penultimate race of the year in Montreal, the championship was between Alan Jones's Williams and Nelson Piquet's Brabham.
At the start of the race, we screamed down to the first corner, and I got the jump on him, held my line, and we touched, and he went into the fence and damaged that car severely, his race car.
It seems a long time. It's go. And Piquet's pulling across in front of Pironi, and Jones is round in front of him, and it's a multiple crash already on the first lap, and Piquet's off.
Well, a very sad race for me because in the first start, Alan pushed me in the wall. I have to change for the spare car, and I did another start, and I overtake Alan after 3 laps, and I opened about 15 seconds, and my engine blew up, and I lost the championship in that race.
Jones put a double lock on the title with victory in the final race, handing Frank Williams his first championship.
Not a brilliantly exciting circuit, but an absolutely riveting race, and that's the Spanish Grand Prix at Jarama. And Villeneuve had a car which handled like a barn door. It was appalling, but he got this fantastically powerful V6 turbocharged engine bolted onto the back of it, and he knew that from row 4 he had got to make a good start. He made a fantastic start. From row 4 he was third by the first corner. On the second lap he was second only to Alan Jones. And Alan led for 17 laps with Villeneuve chasing him hard and all the rest in line astern behind. And then Alan, most atypically, went off and allowed Villeneuve through, and of course Alan was history then, he did finish the race. But from then on, Villeneuve by just keeping his line on the corners, going like smoke down the straights, letting nobody past him on the straights, knowing that on the corners, knowing that no one could get past him on the straights, stayed in front from lap 17 until lap 80. 1 second covered the first 4 home. You never knew who was going to be coming around first. It was incredible. Real cliffhanger.
At Silverstone that year, an early incident put several cars out. But John Watson in a McLaren squeezed through the carnage somehow to take an emotional home victory.
And I felt something, experienced something which I've never experienced previously and I had never seen at a British race before, and that was the public. They just en masse came across the barriers and onto the track and they cheered. And I mean, I can even now, talking about it, feel the tingles. And they were cheering for me and I couldn't understand why. I'd just done the job. I won the race and I can understand winning in your own country what it means to someone. But it just seemed to be on the day the crowd at Silverstone were looking for a British victory. They got it with me and they expressed their appreciation in the best possible way they could, and it was just, I mean, a memory I will never forget.
The championship, though, went to Nelson Piquet by a point from Carlos Reutemann. Imola in 1982 was to become notorious.
And Villeneuve made a mistake. He just went wide, lost traction, and Pironi nipped through. Just a little mistake from Villeneuve, and that's what it's cost him. It's cost him the lead. Yeah, Villeneuve's well placed now. He's picking up the draft well. He's going to be alongside. Which side's Pironi going to keep? Pironi, I think, has made him go the way he shouldn't have done. The long way around, Villeneuve's inside. Ooh! Absolutely side by side. But Villeneuve's got the line up the hill into the next corner.
And look at the ATS right in the line of both of them, and Villeneuve takes his opportunity, comes out to the left, and it could be that Pironi's going to be balked, and they go through absolutely together, and Villeneuve leads again. And look at that, Pironi and Villeneuve absolutely together.
Pironi's in the lead. Pironi's just nipped through. Unfortunately, the director was away, but Villeneuve is going to respond here, possibly.
And he's done it. We are around the Tamburello and see Pironi now.
Pironi,
he's going through.
He's got to come down the inside. He's got him. Oh, he's going wide. Oh, fantastic stuff. They've changed places on 2 laps running, and Pironi now, all he has to do now is keep it pointing the right way. And no mistakes, because there really isn't a passing place. Unless Villeneuve can have a go up here, there aren't really any more passing places on the lap. So it looks as if Pironi's done it.
He had, but according to Villeneuve, by duplicity. 2 weeks later, still livid and unsettled, the Canadian crashed to his death during qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix. Monaco that year was extraordinary. Late in the race, Alain Prost's leading Renault broke, crashing into the barriers. And into an unexpected first place went a man who had never previously won a Grand Prix.
And I went into the lead and I said, okay, Riccardo, you have to make 1.5 lap now, go very slow because it's damp. But I was not slow enough because I spun. And I said, oh my God. And while I was spinning, I saw some cars coming through, like the Ferrari of Pironi, the Alfa Romeo of the Cesaris, and even Williams.
Patrese is on the move again, very fast, but no hope of catching Pironi, who goes into the tunnel for the line. Is that Pironi stationary? It is! My goodness! The third leader in 2 laps.
He must have run out of petrol. There's a big problem for the Ferrari engine is very, very thirsty. They have a fuel problem, and he could have run out of petrol.
And that is De Cesaris' car. But De Cesaris would have taken the lead when Pironi... So that means to say that Derek Daly can win this race. Patrese could win.
Patrese did win, but it was Keke Rosberg's flair and consistency which took the title for Williams. Nelson Piquet's second title was snatched from Alain Prost in the final race of 1983. But Prost's only rival the following year was his McLaren teammate Niki Lauda. To be champion, Prost had to win in Portugal.
So now Prost having another look, but and this time he's got a good draft, and I think he's inside him, yes, and Alain Prost takes the lead, and I'm sure he's going to pull away now.
For the title, Lauda needed only second place, After a poor grid position and a cautious start, the number 8 McLaren was 5th by lap 28 and chasing Keke Rosberg.
As Lauda goes past the Williams, and he is definitely in 4th position. And they're battling for 3rd position. Still Prost first and Mansell second. And Lauda is going through this time, surely. He's got the line. And yes, indeed, as they go into turn 1, at the end of lap 33, Lauda is up into 3rd place, only Mansell between him and his teammate Prost.
But not for long. Eventually, Mansell's brakes failed, leaving Lauda in the 2nd place he needed.
I only know that the last year's one was the most difficult one in the way of having to fight to the last race to finish 2nd behind Prost and then beat him by half a point. So from this point of view, it was, sure I remember it.
I was not too disappointed because that was a very good season in terms of ambience in the team, and with Nicky we enjoy very much racing together.
There was more high drama in Portugal the following year. In dreadful conditions, many cars spun off and crashed. But Ayrton Senna, who had nearly won in similar conditions at Monte Carlo a year earlier, drove flawlessly in the Lotus to win his first Grand Prix.
And off goes Prost and regains and spin. Alain Prost spins right off, and he's going to be out of the race with a smashed rear wing.
The victorious Senna now rejoiced that he had served his apprenticeship in England.
I guess having been racing in England before Formula One for a few years, with the English weather has taught me a lot.
No weather problems for anyone at Brands Hatch in 1985, and none of any kind for Nigel Mansell.
Look at this, a terrific scrap for the lead, and there's a change because the Williams has gone past Ayrton Senna, who has therefore lost the lead, and he has lost it to Nigel Mansell, and now he comes out of clearways and takes the checkered flag, and Nigel Mansell has won.
Alain Prost's 4th place was enough to give the popular Frenchman his elusive first title, and by quite a margin. In 1986, a Williams Honda was the thing to have, but in Spain, at the new Jerez track, it wasn't quite enough for Mansell.
It's going to be one of the closest Grand Prix finishes, whatever happens, that we've seen for a long, long time. They're coming up to the hairpin now. This is it. Down into 2nd gear, and Mansell, if he gets it right, can sprint out of the rear wing of Senna's car. Senna moves across. He's keeping Mansell back, and he wins. Mansell won't like that any more than he likes at Brazil.
On Friday and Saturday, the start and finish line was here. And for the actual race, if you recall, they actually moved the start and finish line back towards the corner by 30 meters for timing reasons or whatever, but it wasn't in the same place. I mean, they never told any of the drivers, so I mean, come Sunday we're racing, and you know, I'd saved it and I came out the corner, I pressed my overtake boost button, and there I was. And if you look, literally about 20 feet past the line where the flag was, I was in front, and I thought I'd won.
If Mansell felt hard done by then, much worse awaited him at the Foster's Australian Grand Prix. As he followed Keke Rosberg and Nelson Piquet, he knew 3rd place would make him world champion.
And then the lap previously to the problem I had, Keke, who was leading the race, and it was his last race, if you remember. And if Keke would have won, I'd have been champion as well. And he had a tyre problem, but everyone thought the engine had broken. Even Keke thought his engine had exploded. And then by the time we'd radioed probably 10 laps before this saying, you know, we're coming in for tyres, and they said quite rightly, because Goodyear had examined other people's tyres, saying there's no problem, you're doing the lap time, stay out. There's only 16 laps to go, 20 laps to go, there's no problem. And then, of course, going down the main straight, I remember pressing the overtake boost to get past Philippe Alliot and then to come in behind Alan again. And then the tyre just let go in the biggest possible way, which everyone saw, so I don't need to go into that.
And look at that! Out that, and colossally, that's Mansell! That is Nigel Mansell, and the car absolutely shattered. He's fighting for control, and you can see what's happened. Mansell is out of the race. Now, this could change and will change the World Championship.
Certainly it did, and Prost found himself a somewhat surprised world champion in a season largely dominated by Williams. Mansell's most dramatic win came at Silverstone the following year. An unplanned but necessary pit stop left him chasing teammate Piquet on fresh tyres but a long way behind.
And then I believe in the last 19 laps we broke the track record 11 times. And then did that fantastic dummy down Hanger Straight. And shall we say there wasn't much room between us going into Stowe. And of course it was just a sensational victory because it was almost unheard of. And then for me, the engine blew up on the slow down lap. I actually had meltdown on the pistons and the turbo because I had the turbo full up, full boost for about the last 6 laps. And I was out of fuel on the last lap because that was the year that we had to sort of regulate the fuel. And I was minus fuel going on the last lap, and I just thought, it's a British Grand Prix, there's no way I'm stroking it, I'm gone.
Gone too was Jackie Stewart's long-held record of race victories, as Alain Prost won the Portuguese Grand Prix, the 28th of his career. Although Mansell won twice as many races as Williams' Honda teammate Piquet, the Brazilian's better consistency made him world champion. Controversy at Monza. Ayrton Senna perhaps chanced too much when he lapped Jean-Louis Schlesser's Williams at the chicane. Without that incident, McLaren Honda would have been unbeaten in 1988. A month after Enzo Ferrari's death, his cars finished 1-2 at home. In Japan, the championship fight was an all-McLaren affair between Senna and Prost. And when the Brazilian almost stalled at the start, race and title looked Prost for the taking. But this was to be Senna's day of days.
That was a tremendous race. As you know, at the start, I almost stalled the engine. From pole position, went back to 15th, 16th place on the first corner. And to recover all those positions with traffic, lapping people, overtaking people, and catch Prost, who had a clear circuit all the way, it was a tremendous achievement for me.
Senna is getting close to him, and Senna is going to challenge for the lead. Ayrton Senna has got the lead. And that was exactly as we predicted as a possible situation. The traffic definitely held Alain Prost up, and Prost will be pretty upset.
It was a beautiful result, and I guess it's the way a driver can dream about winning a championship in such a style.
The same cannot be said for the way the title was decided in 1989. The McLaren teammates, now open enemies, went into a race that Senna had to win to keep a flame under his title hopes. Senna got going again, eventually overtaking Sandro Nannini to win the race. But FISA, the sport's governing body, disqualified him, confirming Prost as champion and sparking one of the greatest controversies the sport has known.
I think it's a sad way of having a championship finish. I think I wanted to win Japan the same way I did in '88. But unfortunately, that's the way it went. In 1990, the competition has been very strong. Difference between cars so small. And we have seen many different situations where people were involved in incidents. Different cars, different drivers, different circuits. And Japan, unfortunately, was another example of it.
Sprints away, but Alain Prost takes the lead. It's happened. Alain Prost has taken the advantage. Senna is trying to go through on the inside, and it's happened immediately. This is amazing. Senna goes off at the first corner, but what has happened to Prost? He has gone off too. Well, that is amazing, but I fear absolutely predictable.
It's important to have some rules that everybody accepts, and if you have any weakness in terms of rules in this kind of environment, it's finished. So that's what I don't like at the moment.
The end of another controversial season then, and the teams prepare for Adelaide and the 500th World Championship race. In Australia, they know how to put on a Grand Prix and also how to celebrate a special one.
Australia is go, and Prost leads up from behind, tucks in behind Mansell. You saw the Ferrari running wide, but it's Berger still there, and Piquet is ahead of Alain Prost.
And Nelson Piquet is getting alongside Berger. He's lined up and he's got inside him.
That is Senna. This is incredible. Ayrton Senna, there's his car. Ayrton Senna is not going to win the Australian Grand Prix. Oh,
he's having a go. Oh!
Formula One racing to me was not fun, exhilaration, excitement.
Obviously, it had its high points and it had its low points. Far too many of the latter, actually.
It's enabled me to earn my living in a business which I enjoy.
Formula One, Grand Prix motor racing, has given me everything I have in life.
Now, I'm just learning it. Now I quite like motor racing. I didn't ever really like it very much when I was doing it.
What I done was very, very good, and I'd like to do a little bit more.
It's been an incredible, fascinating, at times magical experience.
But it's something that, together with the difficulties, with the frustrations, and the good feelings, the positive things come above all so far. And as long as they continue that way, I'll be racing not only with my heart, but with my mind and my soul.
Outstanding television. I can't wait to get up to Montreal, work with Jackie Stewart in the Canadian Grand Prix, and of course with Bobby Unser at the Molson Indies in both Toronto and Vancouver. Speaking of racing, the San Marino Grand Prix on Sports Weekend, April the 28th. Let's get to exhibition baseball. Before that, we go to Molson Hockey Night in Canada and remind you that tonight at 8 Eastern, we begin our doubleheader. Edmonton's at Calgary, followed by Vancouver at Los Angeles. Now we go to exhibition baseball. Top of the ninth inning at Shea Stadium in New York City this afternoon.